What a typical day looked like in the 1980s. Britain. Life in 1980s Britain was a blend of routine, resilience, and rapid change. Families still clung to old traditions, yet technology, music, and television were transforming everyday experiences. A typical day wasn't just about going to work, eating meals, and watching telly. It was about being part of a culture that defined an era. Let's step back into that decade and walk through what an ordinary day in 1980s Britain really looked like. Mornings, tea, toast, and school runs. The day began not with smartphones or digital alarms, but with the buzz of an electric clock on the bedside table, or the hum of the radio tuned into BBC Radio 2 or Radio 4. By the mid-80s, families who had color televisions could catch breakfast time on BBC or TVM, complete with Roland Rat and lively presenters. Breakfast was often quick and hearty. Children tucked into Weetabix, ready Brek, or Corn Flakes, sometimes with a slice of toast dripping with butter and jam. Adults rarely skipped their morning brew. Strong cups of PG Tips or Tetley tea, served with milk and sugar, were a ritual. On weekends, households might indulge in a full English, fried bacon, eggs, sausages, beans, and tomatoes, filling the kitchen with sizzling sounds. By 8 a.m., the streets were alive. Kids in gray school uniforms and scuffed shoes trudged to classrooms. Mums walked toddlers to nursery, and fathers hurried toward buses, trains, or cars. Ford Escorts, Austin Metros, and Vauxhall Cavaliers clogging the roads. School days, chalkboards, packed lunches, and playground fun. For children, school life defined much of a typical day in the 1980s Britain. The bell rang at 9 a.m., and lessons began in chalk-dusted classrooms. Teachers jotted notes on blackboards, the squeak of chalk echoing across rows of desks. Children learned with exercise books, biros, and fountain pens. Overhead projectors were cutting-edge teaching tools. Discipline was strict, and homework was an ever-present shadow. Lunch was either packed from home, sandwiches in Tupperware, penguin biscuits, and cartons of umbongo, or served hot in school canteens. Dinners became infamous for stodgy puddings like Spotted Dick with pink custard, or classics like fish fingers and mashed potatoes. Playtime meant skipping ropes, British bulldog, conkers in autumn, and football on tarmac playgrounds. By the late 80s, Game Boys and handheld electronic toys were making appearances, but for most, the playground was still king. Work life, offices, factories, and high streets. While children studied, adults got on with work. Offices across Britain hummed with typewriters, telephones with curly cords, and photocopiers. The personal computer was creeping in. Beige machines like the BBC Micro, Amstrad, or early IBM-S, changing how people filed and typed. Fax machines, once futuristic, became essential tools. On high streets, shops thrived. Woolworths was the place for everything: pick and mix sweets, records, toys, and household goods. Marks & Spencer was a trusted stop for food and clothing. Butchers, greengrocers, and corner shops still dominated daily shopping, long before supermarkets swallowed the trade. Factories remained crucial employers. In towns tied to steel, textiles, or coal, shifts still ran day and night. Yet the 1980s also brought closures, with strikes and redundancies shaking entire communities. For stay-at-home mums, the day revolved around housework, shopping, and childcare. Washing hung on lines, irons hissed in kitchens, and kettles boiled endlessly for cups of tea. Lunchtime routines: sandwiches, thermos flasks, and pub grub. Lunchtime broke the day's rhythm. For office workers, it often meant a packed sandwich eaten at a desk or in a nearby park. Cheese and pickle, ham and mustard, or egg and cress were staples. Thermos flasks kept tea or soup warm. Some nipped to the pub for quick grub. a pint and a pie, sausage rolls, or a plowman's lunch. Shoppers in town might stop for a wimpy burger, Britain's fast food answer before McDonald's, and Burger King fully took hold. School children, meanwhile, wrestled with lukewarm custard, chips, and fish on Fridays. Whatever the setting, lunch was practical, not fancy, a chance to refuel before the afternoon. Afternoons, from latchkey kids to high street errands. By 3:30 p.m., school was out. Children spilled onto pavements, heading home with satchels bouncing against their backs. Many became latchkey kids, unlocking front doors and staying home unsupervised until parents arrived. Afternoons meant outdoor play, BMX bikes, roller skates, or football matches on fields. Some stayed inside with toys like Action Man, Cabbage Patch Kids, or Lego. By the mid to late 80s, ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, and Atari consoles were drawing kids to bedrooms for hours of pixelated games. Adults stopped at high streets for groceries or picked up kids on their way home. Shops closed earlier than today, and Thursday late-night shopping was still a novelty. Evenings, family tea and television time. Dinner, often called tea across much of Britain, was around 6 p.m. The menu was simple but filling: shepherd's pie, sausage and mash, or a meat and 2-veg plate. Fridays might mean fish and chips eaten straight from paper. Sunday's roast often stretched into Monday with leftover cold meat and bubble and squeak. After tea, the television became the family hearth. With only 4 channels, BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and Channel 4 from 1982, viewing was communal. Families didn't just watch TV, they planned their evenings around it. Popular shows glued people to screens: Coronation Street, Only Fools and Horses, The Young Ones, Yes Minister, Top of the Pops, and later EastEnders from 1985. The 9 o'clock news was a serious ritual, while comedy and music lightened the mood. Nights out and social life, pubs, discos, and youth clubs. Evenings weren't only about television. Adults often slipped down to the local pub, where dartboards, pints of bitter, and jukeboxes set the scene. Bingo halls buzzed with excitement, while discos and working men's clubs played chart hits and rock anthems. Teenagers flocked to youth clubs, roller discos, or arcades filled with Pac-Man and Space Invaders machines. The arrival of the Sony Walkman meant kids walked streets with Madonna, Duran Duran, and the Smiths in their ears. Music culture shaped nightlife. Concerts, vinyl record collections, and cassette tapes defined personal taste. For many, the pub remained the heartbeat of social life, while the younger generation chased neon-lit nights. Bedtime, winding down. In 1980s Britain, by 10 p.m., the house quietened. Children were ushered into pajamas, reading the famous 5, the Beano, or Janet and John books before lights out. Teens might sneak in one last listen to the radio, taping songs off top 40 charts on cassettes. Adults wound down with tea or instant coffee. Cigarette smoke lingered in living rooms, and many homes had only one TV. Bedrooms were still mostly screen-free. As channels signed off at night, sometimes with the national anthem, the glow of the screen faded. Families drifted to bed, ready to do it all over again. A typical day in 1980s, Britain was built around tea, telly, and togetherness. Families balanced work, school, and play in a world where technology was arriving, but traditions still held firm. Children played outside until the streetlights came on. Parents anchored their evenings to the television, and the local pub was never far away. It was an age of routine and resilience, but also the beginning of modern life as we know it. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.